Good morning. I'm Amanda DiVito Parle, and this is At the Kitchen Table, a podcast where we guide, inspire, and connect entrepreneurs. And I'm joined today by my RE/MAX pal, Joe Fitzpatrick from RE/MAX Results in Rhode Island. Okay. Well, I see the boat scene behind you, and so that must be common play where you live. So tell me a little bit about the life you live and the business you run and how you came to be in real estate and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, this is the background here is Newport, Rhode Island, which is where I'm from, where I live. You can see boats in the ocean. I'm going to have to change this, though, because if you can see the slash is still in the RE/MAX, so we're going to have to upgrade these.
We'll take that up with corporate.
So, a little bit about me. All right. I'm 50 years old. I've got a wife that hates me and kids that suck the life out of me, but that doesn't make me special.
Makes you a realtor.
What can I say about me? Let me see. I have played, competitive men's league soccer for 28 years. I just retired last year a year before, after my third ACL. So that actually, believe it or not, two outdoor leagues, two indoor leagues, that kind of took over all of my spare time for a really, really long time. I never really questioned it. You get up on a Sunday morning at 7, you drive an hour and 15 minutes to meet all the lads. We'd meet there, drive to our away games. That's an hour and a half, the beer in the parking lot, drive back, 2 o'clock, you're exhausted, have a nap, it's 3 o'clock. And this was my only day off. And I did this for almost 30 years and never questioned it. It's just now that I'm retired, I think to myself, I must be out of my mind. But soccer was a huge part of my life. And then when I retired, I decided, actually, as they were carrying me off the field with my third ACL, I said to myself, golfing or fishing?
Right.
Because I knew that was the last time I was ever going to set foot on the football pitch. So golf is just too boring. I really tried. My wife's at that stage, where she wants me out of the house, not in the house. So she
got you. Yeah, 30 years as she got used to you being gone all day, right?
Yeah, she likes it now. So she even tried to get me to play golf. So anyway, I bought a boat, and then figured out that fishing is basically just drinking. I mean, I did not know that, but apparently that's a thing. So I'm kind of in limbo right now. So I don't know what to say about myself. I'm an ex-soccer player, a rugby fanatic.
Where are you from? Where's that accent from? Tell us where you're from.
I'm from Dublin, Ireland originally.
And how did you end up in America?
Believe it or not, I came here on a soccer. I'm not on a scholarship because I went to a community college, but I came here to play soccer. I was here for a summer and I played. Tuesday, I was a dishwasher, and I played Tuesday and Thursday night with some of the restaurant staff in URI. We drove like 40 minutes to the URI and played there. And I played with the head coach of CCRI. Anyway, long story short, I wanted to go back. I went to college. I came here straight out of high school. And I came back and was going to play community college soccer. It just didn't work out. The 2 days, I went out of car. I lived probably 25, 30 minutes away from campus, and I had, 3 or 4 full-time jobs. But that's why I essentially came back. That didn't work out. It took me all of 5 minutes to figure out I wasn't going to have a career in soccer, less than 5 minutes. So at that point, I just was in the restaurant business, hospitality business, ended up getting into real estate. I got my license in 1997.
How old were you in 1997?
I was 21, 22. Yeah. I was still washing dishes, still painting houses. I just had my license. And, basically for 4 years, I went in there for my little kind of desk shifts, they were called, and on Saturdays and Sundays when nobody wanted them. And I sat there, and if somebody came in, you ready for this, Amanda? I would write down their contact info and their search criteria, right? And make rapport with them, and then hand it off to one of the agents in the office. Don't ask me. I had no idea what I was doing. But that was from 97 to 2000. I was at Prudential Prime Properties. And then I came to RE/MAX in 2001, and I've been here ever since. So I know this isn't a RE/MAX podcast, but for the purposes of kind of telling a little bit about me, I guess RE/MAX has been the biggest influence on me. I've been here since 2001.
Big.
And then, the Hall of Fame, Life Achievement, Circle of Legends, those are the kind of award statuses I've gone through over the last 25 years. And other than that, I'm just kind of a big community guy. I'm into investing into people and communities before I am investing into what we call leads. I'm definitely a relationship builder over a transactional agent, I guess, is my big thinking about how I run my business and how I do things in life in general. I just take that back. I'm very, very, very happy and very, very, very blessed. Have a fantastic wife and kids. I just like to poke fun at myself and each other. Yeah, right. They're fantastic.
Right. And I knew that about you, so it's all good.
Yeah, we're very happy.
I'm curious. I mean, the discipline it takes to be, either a semi-pro athlete and the discipline it takes to be a real estate agent mastery parallel each other in some ways. What do you think the football pitch taught you about real estate, and how did those two play together through your years of selling?
Yeah. I guess I would like to clarify, I was never a semi-pro athlete or anything. I thought I was going to be good, and people said I was good. And one of the things that I think was very lucky, I've never taken a drug in my life, and I attribute that to the discipline I had playing sports from, say, 15 until, until I started playing kind of Sunday pub league when you could have a few beers and show up hungover, but you couldn't do it, I think that when I navigated 15 years through 22, 23 without, not so much substance abuse, but without taking drugs, we were constantly drug tested, and without drinking a whole lot because we were, doing 2 a days, and it was a lot. I think the discipline that's instilled in you, I kind of made it through those years. I was kind of, well, why would I start now? I think I attribute my soccer and whatever athletics I was into kind of navigating me through those rough years when a lot of people go down that rabbit hole, especially, obviously we've all had friends we've lost to drugs and alcoholism. But I was able to avoid at least one of them. I guess you could say I'm a functioning alcoholic sometimes, but at least
the Irishman. Do we expect anything less out of the Irishman?
Yeah, at least I avoided the drugs thing. So I think the discipline's there. I mean, Quintavious talks about it a lot, about taking the mindset from, and he was an elite athlete, taking the mindset from sports and adapting it to real estate. I mean, honestly, I'm sure Q and you've heard the story, but there's very few better comparisons than his. But I've always been a disciplined person. So one of my favorite things in life, and in fact, I said it to Alcat Kula this morning after receiving one of his awards, is that consistency will always outperform intensity. Given time, and that's something I'm a huge believer in. So I think that if we were to say what the coaches taught us, if Tom Brady needs a coach, then I need a coach. So it's the same thing when you're talking about the sports analogies. We all needed our coaches in sports, and we all need our coaches in business. So I believe in that, absolutely.
At what point did you wake up and realize you were an entrepreneur?
I've always been an entrepreneur. I had 4 or 5 jobs at 12, 13 years old. I ran a bookie for a golf tour, for a soccer tournament in my school when I was like 14 years old. The first goal scorer, last goal scorer, everything. I've always been an entrepreneur. Other than when I literally needed to, make money to eat when I came to America, I've never had a job. Like, I've never clocked in and clocked out. Even when I was bussing tables and waiting tables, I felt like that was entrepreneurial because you could pick up the better shifts. You could sacrifice your day and do a double shift. You could, I used to navigate, having people take certain sections for me so I could take on more tables. There was always a way to navigate to work harder and make more money. My biggest, I always scratched my head when I was 18, 19 years old. And I heard about people, I'm going to become, not that it's not a noble profession, but, a policeman or a fireman or anything you can think of that has I'm going to put my 25 years in and have a, retirement. I just think to myself, oh my God, I can't even imagine doing that. I have to live by the day. I have to have this intensity every day,
So I'm curious about, if you look back, maybe in those formative early years of real estate specifically, who was the one person that you can kind of look back with real admiration, a mentor of some kind, like somebody who really influenced you? And what was it that you think you picked up from them at that time? Maybe why were you even in a place to receive it? Do you remember some of those impactful people in your life, or an impactful time, or maybe an age in which you feel like something switched for you?
Nah,
No, it was always
never
like
had that.
this. You were all just all grind.
I mean, in more recent years, I'll definitely attribute some credit to my coach who gave me, who helped me understand delegation and putting time and effort into income producing activities and what was important and what wasn't. But for the first 15, 20 years, I just flew by the seat of my pants. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was just out there, but I was just producing more than anybody. So nobody really questioned anything, including myself. I think at some point, if we have a chance to talk about what I regret or what I could have done better, I'll get into it a little more. But no, I didn't really have that person. All my family's in Ireland. I have an uncle in New York that I might see once a year. But I didn't really have that. I mean, I was in a Remax office, which is full of top producers, and we just didn't have that.
Like a one person that absolutely influenced you. Well, I mean,
No, I would love to give somebody credit. It just didn't happen that way. I mean, Bruce Allen and Joe Rose, the two broker owners of Remax Results, were great to me, and they were father figures to me. But they'll even tell you within a couple of years of me establishing my team, they were learning from us. We weren't learning from them. I was always on the forefront of everything that was happening because I knew how to hire the right people. I mean, I had Kate from 2001 till 2008. She moved to Florida and she trained Justine, who's still with me. So I've literally had two people running my team for 20 something years. But I don't really have anyone like that, Amanda. That might sound odd, does it? That I don't have kind of a mentor or somebody, you know. I've been with Coach Mike now for the last 5 years or so, and I definitely give him credit for getting me more organized and helping with the awareness of my numbers and my profits and what I should be doing and the thing that we always talk about. Know your value. You're a $200 an hour agent, but you're doing $18 an hour activities. He opened me up to that. He opened my mindset to hiring my first personal assistant, which was a huge change in my business. Like I plateaued and couldn't get my head around paying somebody to do stuff that I could do myself until I realized, leveraging other people's time is the only way to scale your business on a Remax level. If you're a chairman agent and you want to get to Titan, or you're a Titan agent and you want to get a diamond and so on, the only way to do that, in my opinion, without, sacrificing your marriage and your kids and your life in general, is to leverage other people's time and understand how to, use the actual time you're dedicating to your business to income producing activities. So I don't really have anyone, Amanda, unfortunately.
Well, thinking on to then any of the things you learned or things that maybe feel like a regret to you. Do you have regrets in the business?
It took me a long time to figure this out, but one of my biggest regrets, and I'll give myself a little bit of slack because I was, 25 years old making $250,000, right? But I was a jerk. Like I didn't see value in my co-broking agents. I didn't see any value in, it was me against the world, like everything was a competition. One thing I learned is that having good relationships with your co-broking agents inside your own market not only helps and behooves your buyers from potentially getting deals, but it makes everything smoother. Nobody gets paid if we don't get to the closing table, but it took me 15 years to figure that out. And then, what I really realized, Amanda, how much of a jerk I was? But I was young and kind of, I don't know if arrogance is the right word, but I was young and like brash and, thought I was invincible. And it's when I bought a brokerage and started to recruit. And now here I am calling some of the same people that I may not have been
particularly nice
ago. And now I'm trying to have these conversations now, and that's when it really said, oh, you know what? Last time I spoke to her, I wasn't particularly nice, and that's one of my biggest regrets for sure.
Yeah. Some of the advice on that is sort of this apology tour. People talk about like going on an apology tour, picking up the phone and calling people that you may have been a jerk to and saying, I recognize now that I probably was a bit of a jerk and I actually don't need anything else but just to get it off my back to say like, hey, moving forward, you'll get a different version of me. And I'm living my life differently than I once did. And I don't know, I think that's valuable, and just being able to like give yourself grace and release from some of that like baggage that we hold on to, for sure. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I will tell you, there are people in my life who have come to me right around the time I had my first baby and just said sort of the same thing, like, you've really softened up. And I mean, definitely for me, I know it was ego. I was an extrovert. I was trying to prove myself. I was second generation realtor, so I was chasing my dad's reputation. And so I was really bulldogging it for a long time. And then about the time I had kids, people were like, whoa, like, you've softened tremendously. And I can remember that time in my life where, like, same thing, like, you just like, you're humbled a little bit by the business. And I think actually the older we get, the more humble we become. I have a friend who talks about the fighter stance versus the warrior stance. And so I can definitely see like that fists up fighter position for a time. And then about the time you bought the brokerage, hands on hips, you become sort of a warrior, where like I can take hits differently than I did if I was a fighter. I wasn't, trying to, and I think real estate makes us scrappy, and it does sort of force us to keep our fists up a lot to take on that fighter stance. So I just think that the older we get, really the more humble that we can be in this business. And I notice that in myself and in the people around me too.
Yeah, I'm not sure what your demographic here is, but if you have younger agents, and we talk about, this may not apply to them because it may just be nice to everyone, but because I want everyone to get value out of this, one of the other things I really regret is not understanding or having awareness of my numbers, profitability, where am I spending, where is this income coming from, keeping track of, having a budget, not just a work budget, but like a household budget. Mm-hmm. That's something that I really wish I did 15 years ago.
Well, you probably didn't value it. You didn't value the money in the business. Not that you didn't value the money. It's just that wasn't what was driving you. You weren't driven by the money. You were probably driven by the recognition, or you were driven by sort of the wins more so than the actual money. And so who needed to pay attention to the money if there was enough to keep your wife out of your hair and keep your team running and pay your bills? Then who paid attention? But I think you're right. Once you know your numbers, then things really change because your eyes are opened in a different way.
Once you have that awareness, you'll never go back. The other thing I would say is, understanding where all the success lies. It's calls 5 through 12, or it's, mailers 12 months through 18 months. Like, all the success lies where everybody else kind of quits. Or gives up. We all know the stat, your highest conversion of phone calls is call 5 through 12, and everybody makes 1, 2, and then 3, and you might get say 90% of people make the second call. Once they make the third call, you're dropping in a 50-50 at best. You get to that fourth call, you're down to less than 10%, and virtually no one making that fifth call, where all the data shows that's where the conversion comes, call 5 through 12. So that's something that I wish I knew younger. I mean, I love these things that you're doing, Amanda. I think these are great. I hope people watch these and get stuff out of it, because there's no doubt in my mind that there's hundreds of people within the RE/MAX system, or within the real estate industry, or whatever industry you're in, that are going to be as successful as me. I just want them to get there quicker, more efficiently, and easier. Yeah. God, let's get rid of some of these bumps, man. Be aware of your numbers, know about profit, know where the success lies. Know that everything you want in life is located outside of your comfort zone, almost without exception. But be nice to people. Come on, man. It's not there doesn't have to be a winner and a loser at every transaction, does there, Amanda?
No, that's right. And my managing broker for years has talked about it's not about being right or wrong. It's about being effective. And, I mean, you were clearly effective. Even if you were a bit of a jerk in the beginning, you were clearly effective. You were doing something right, or whatever it was that you were doing worked in the way it was going to work for you. But, looking back, were you just absolutely running your face off for 20 years? I
outworked everybody. Now, I got this from my dad and my granddad, by the way. fantastic, disciplined military. I mean, my father was in the army and my grandfather was in the army, but my grandfather on the other side was just like, he just worked. Like my dad, I just never saw him. He left at 6 in the morning, he came back six at night every day, never questioned anything. Out do your work. So I got and he's also very disciplined athlete. He was a fantastic athlete. He ran marathons into his 60s, but he played in front of tens of thousands of people at our national stadium at what's called Croke Park, because he excelled at Gaelic football and hurling, which is our two national sports that everybody in Ireland watches. So I just, I was in the office at 7 and I was there till 9 at night. And it didn't even, I would go in at 7 to line up my appointments, and then I'd have appointments on the hour until 4 or 5, and then I'd work till 9 o'clock calling everybody for setup the next day. And I never questioned it, ever. 10, 12, 14-hour days. Just, what else would I be doing?
Yeah. From a technical perspective, are you still selling?
From a technical perspective,
like, are you at kitchen tables? Are you selling real estate still?
Yeah, for the most part, I'm doing, listing presentations, negotiating and closing. I'm basically down to 3 real estate transactions. But in addition to that, I'm running a brokerage. I'm running a team. I am trying to make myself available to the agents on the team and make them better. I do give away all my buyers now. I mean, yeah, that's true. If there's somebody who, really requires the attention, it might be, a $10 million commercial deal that requires my knowledge and my level of numbers and ROIs and that kind of thing. But for the most part, I'm not at a point yet where I can get out of production, because my production is still a big part of why this team is profitable.
Do you think that's solvable in this business?
I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm getting there.
Is that just numbers? Is it headcount?
It's just numbers. It's just numbers. I was 80-20, then I was 75-25, then I went down to 60-40. Last year, I think I did say 40 of the 125, so about 35%. I'm getting there. Now, I can't just stop producing to get to 25-75, which is where I want to be.
Yeah.
I have to increase their sales simultaneously while passing off the business. But if I can get to below 25% of the entire team GCI, then not only, can I go on vacations like I'm on right now, and I can leave the office for 2 weeks, everything's running fine, but I'm also building a sellable asset, which everybody on this call either should have a plan, think about having a plan, or at least plan on having a plan, because you want to have a sellable asset. What's worse than working 30 hours or 30 years of your life and then just walking away, right? So I'm trying to develop a sellable asset. The Fitzpatrick team, the number one team in Rhode Island since I think 2018, it is an asset, is a sellable asset, because if you take my production out, which ultimately will be if you bought my team, it's still worth something, because we're still, and I'm working on that. But yes, I think if I can get below 25%, because I still do need my production. If I can get below 25%, I'll be happy, and that's the direction I'm trying to go in, and everybody should be. I'm sure you're thinking the same thing. How old are you, Amanda? Are we the same age?
No, I'm 44.
44. I thought you were actually more than that, but
yeah.
But even at 44,
thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
You're probably still thinking about a succession plan on some level.
Oh, I have been since the day I entered the business, because I started the business as a second generation realtor. So we were talking about a succession plan from the day I joined my dad's business. I mean, I watched him transition his business to me. And really, from a technical perspective, he did a lot right. My dad built a team before teams were a thing. He knew that he had to, bring people alongside him to he knew about leverage before it was talked about in real estate. And he wanted to go on vacation. And so we learned at some point that even he and I couldn't really be in business together. I think this is good advice for the husband and wife teams. It's good advice for the father-daughter teams. It's good advice for the mother-son teams, or whatever, is that you have to have somebody who isn't in your family, because if your family wants to travel together, you have to be able to leave the business behind with somebody else. And he learned that pretty quickly. So my dad always kept, an outside partner in the business that could really hold things down for us when we would travel together. And that was very brilliant. And, I guess the other question I have for you that's sort of interesting is we never made the decision to actually buy the brokerage. And I'm curious, at what point did you decide, or were you given an opportunity that just lay itself at your feet to buy RE/MAX Results? And at what point did you decide to do that? And what was that like in terms of moving into the broker space versus just being sort of a top producing agent?
Well, I never wanted a brokerage, to be honest with you. I knew that what I was doing was running an extremely profitable team. And I knew that when I bought a brokerage, I would have to take time away from what was an extremely profitable team to running what could potentially or potentially not be a minusculely profitable brokerage. But at the same time, a couple of things happened. Number one, Bruce and Joe, who I've been with for 25 years, we're old dudes when I joined, and it's 25 years later, right? Not old dudes, but in my eyes, right? So they're, I don't know, 70s-ish. I don't even want to guess in case I guess high. But, they're both in their 70s, and they approached me because I was their succession plan, right? Kind of.
Did you know that?
They had mentioned it a few times, and I was like, I'm just not interested, guys. I'm busy. I got a lot of stuff going on, and, but they had started around 2010. I just got married. I got 2 kids. They're both young. I was just busy, And then when I actually sat down and gave some thought to it, which is probably around 2020, they're like, here's what we want for it. And I presented the numbers to my business coach and my real estate coach and some people who I advise. And they're like, it just didn't make sense financially. But that kind of planted the seed for me. And then I think when Rhode Island, when RE/MAX got sniff of the fact that, the Fitzpatrick team could potentially be leaving RE/MAX of Rhode Island because we were the number one producer by like a billion miles. They actually, came to me and said, look, we're going to give you your own franchise. And the cost of starting a brand new franchise in a location that we already had because we were a team office, I think was like 1/20th of what my broker wanted for his. And then we were like, okay. So the business models available to me, there was many of them, but the one I chose was you take the team leader, which is me, your top producer, which is Tyler Bernardin, who I know that and your COO or your office admin, whoever runs the team, who's Justine Tarleton. And then the 3 of you become partners and start this brokerage because that's the best business model. I got a sweetheart deal because of me and who I am and how long I've been in RE/MAX, but that's useless if I don't have the right people around me. So I think bringing the top producer, who's still on the Fitzpatrick team, by the way, he's just a broker owner, and Justine, who still runs the Fitzpatrick team, but now she's a broker owner. And I think taking that business model for me was a no-brainer because
for clarity, you're a team brokerage, which means everybody who comes to your RE/MAX Results comes onto your team, or do you have independent agents that are working for them?
I have independent agents, yeah. Okay. But I took my team with me, but I have a full real estate brokerage with independent agents, multiple teams, and the Fitzpatrick team. When you join our brokerage, you must join a team if you're a new or newer agent. But you can interview with Ben Willett. You can interview with the Anchor Group. You can interview with the Quinn Group. You can interview with Fitzpatrick team. You have your options, but we don't take on like new or newer agents as individual, more like established agents for our kind of, single individual agents. But we have a full brokerage, yes.
Yeah, it's smart. And, it's funny, the owner of our company is a man named Chuck Auctioner. His son, Chad, has been running the company for the better part of maybe 10 or 12 years. And I remember bumping into Chuck Auctioner in the hall one day. And he said, kiddo, you're real good at sales. You should keep doing that. There's a lot more money there than there is in owning a brokerage. And, that stayed with me a long time. I don't know if he was trying to keep me off his turf. Maybe. But there was no way I was going to come into his turf. He owned, at the peak of their franchise, something like 24 offices and, 900 agents or 1,000 agents at the peak of that. And I didn't want to own the brokerage to compete with him. Plus, there was no room in our market for another RE/MAX franchise. But to be fair, I never considered it either because I was in sales and I was making good money as a salesperson. And it was like, stay in your lane, do what you're good at. But, there's always these like other mountains to climb. And so I wonder if buying the brokerage was just something new for you to try, something interesting for you to do, a place for you to stretch yourself after having been in sales for 30 years.
Also, we had agents like Tyler Bernardin, who, although he's still on the team, is such a high producer and needs so much help. He ended up, albeit thanks to you, perhaps, if you remember, starting almost a micro team within our team.
Yeah, we
But
talk about that.
we did talk about that.
We
We
did
did. I'm
talk
glad you
about that.
remember.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
But at the time, we had Tyler Bernardin, Devin Sheehan, Caroline Cooper, agents that were outgrowing what we were providing, and I wanted to stay in the Tyler Bernardin business, right?
Talk about the micro team. What did that look like for him?
What, like Devin and Tyler now both have what I consider being micro teams. Devin hired an assistant, his wife helps him out, and his dad was working with him for a little bit. Tyler, for example, has Michelle, who does all of his showings, all of his rentals. They discuss everything, they do everything together. He's in the process of hiring an assistant. Michelle is more of a showing agent, listing agent, licensed help for him. Yeah. But he is essentially running a micro team within the Fitzpatrick team. At some point, whenever he's ready, today, tomorrow, next week, next month, we will more than help him grow his own team and establish the Bernardin team within Remax Results. You see, because I was also afraid about losing all this production. We did 125 million or 125 to 130 million last year as a team, right? So when you're doing those levels, you want to keep them, right? We talked about what drives you earlier. I'm very competitive. I don't want to be number one. I want to be number one by like a country mile. I want to people, right? That's what drives me. But I understood that if Tyler wanted to start his own team, then you know what? We kind of pushed the narrative of our brokerage numbers instead of our team numbers. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to be great. Everyone's going to be fine. I love that he started his micro team within the Fitzpatrick team. It works for him. It works for us. He's very comfortable. I tell him kind of like I tell people about buying brokerage, stay at what you're good at. You're really, 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 really good at forming and developing relationships and turning those into real estate sales, which is extremely profitable. And I'm concerned that if you take any of your focus away from what you're good at and try to run a team, every time you try to run a team, you're taking potential time away from what you're really good at, which is prospecting and converting leads. So I think he gets that now. But
and there's
whenever he's ready, we're ready.
Yeah, there's a time and place in life to just make money. And it is when you're Tyler's age. Like, honestly, the best thing he could do for the next 3 to 5 years is buy a rental every year, invest in some real estate, sock away some serious cash, and get yourself into a position where one day if you wake up and want to do something different, you've got a little nest egg, a little pad, couple of sources of income to be able to just pivot and move a different direction. Because when you get comfortable making the kind of money I suspect Tyler is making, if you're not saving a whole bunch of it, those years when you decide you want to perk your head up and do something different become very difficult. So I wonder, what is next for you? You're just going to kind of keep running the brokerage, trying to travel some more? Do you want to coach, speak, train? Do you have aspirations beyond sales and running a brokerage?
I think my goal is I got about 9.5 years left of kind of being in the hustle.
Does that correlate directly with the age of your youngest child? I'm just kidding.
It doesn't actually. It correlates directly to the age of my maturing of all my kind of mutual funds and Northwestern monies I've been putting in since I was in my 20s. Wow. It'll also make me 60, which is a nice round age. I'd like to get back to the city of Newport. I've been jokingly or unjokingly been called the mayor for about 20 years because of all the Clean It Up Joe campaigns and all the stuff I do locally in the community. But I think at 60, I would like to, run for local office and give back to my city a little bit. I'd like to be able to run my businesses without being present. So I think that what's next for me is, grind. I got 9.5 years left, and then hopefully, really enjoy the last, 2.5 decades of my life. The kids will be gone by then. Myself and my wife's in great shape. She's in her mid-40s, but she's super healthy, and we both think we're going to live forever. And just enjoy ourselves. I mean, I'm at my house up here in New Hampshire right now, which I absolutely love. I'm obsessed with. I'm never selling this house, so I'll probably spend more time up here. My wife likes Florida, so we go there every year and we rent an Airbnb, but I'll probably buy a condo down there for her. Not that we'll necessarily vacation separately, but at least we both have our happy place anytime we want. And then obviously I'll go home to Ireland to see my parents. I mean, my parents are still alive and well. I've got 4 sisters, a brother, so yeah, I think travel, Amanda, I think that, I'm not as concerned about, dominating everything at all times anymore. I'm more kind of like, okay, I can be a little more easygoing now, but I think I am taking my foot off the petrol a little bit, and seeing the end line and seeing, what I'd like to accomplish. And I think owning a brokerage, keeping a percentage of the production, the team, but, significantly less than 20 or 25%. I also have like a market on Broadway, and I've got a property maintenance business, and just my other little streams of income. Myself and my wife have 5 Airbnbs that we kind of treat as a second job. So I think, maintaining, I don't need to grow anymore. I don't need to buy any more properties. I just need to maintain what I have, let them mature, let the mortgages. I mean, I think we've got one property with like 3 years. That's how old I feel now. I've got a property with like 3 years left on it, on the original 30-year mortgage. And just kind of, protect what I've worked hard for, which is, to be able to not have to, bag groceries in my 60s unless I'm bored or nothing else to do. I want to be able to, enjoy myself and everything I've worked so hard for. I think
you've earned that. There's no doubt. And I am in great admiration of you. You and I are pals. We have a common group of friends inside the RE/MAX network. I've enjoyed sneaking into Dave Liniger's house with you.
We have some great stories, if you think about it.
And I look forward to seeing you in a couple months' time here at the next event. And so anyway, really appreciate you taking the time on vacation to come chat with me and just reflect a little bit about success and the journey and your life. And so I'm most grateful to you. You're my friend, and I look up to you, and congratulations on all your success, Joe Fitzpatrick.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Amanda and Stephen. Great job making sure everything's running smoothly here. But thank you guys so much. And Amanda, I'll see you next month.
Sounds good. Thanks, pal.
Bye, guys.